What is the most annoying sound on the planet?
The most annoying sound on the planet is the sound of water. And the
Water. Okay.
water, it is the sound of water. And the reason for that is that the cochlear implant, still, for all of its technological innovation, has not been created in such a way that you can wear a behind the ear, like a hearing aid processor. If you want to hear water, you have
Mm-hmm.
to wear like this thing that's like on your arm, and it has a cord and it goes on your ear, and then the microphone's all the way in the back. So if I want to hear water, like if I want to shower, or if I want to go in a waterfall, I have to be wearing this really bulky piece of equipment. I find the sound of rain absolutely fascinating in a way, because it's kind of like, and very often there are so many sounds just in the everyday that I will hear and I'll try to figure out what they are. Like, the sound of a basketball on the floor. Like, I'll just be like, what is that sound? And that happens just throughout the day. The beeping of the microwave, the pot boiling, the water running in the faucet. These are all sounds that I'm constantly trying to figure out where sound is coming from. Or I just went in for a mapping to change my sound, and they changed a few electrodes, and I heard the sound of the air conditioner for the first time. I was like, what is that in the background? That shh sound that I've heard, that I did not expect it to sound the way it does. I will have to say, my son's, it's so weird to say that, but like my son's, like the sounds he makes. And I say that because I am by nature just a generally very anxious person. I'm constantly planning, I'm constantly just like trying to prepare for all possible scenarios. So before he went to surgery in 97, and then I had my second surgery like 3 weeks before I started college. And then I had a third failure a couple years after that. And that has all been fantastic, because the technology that existed in 87 is drastically different from the technology that existed in 2021. For example, like you go from having this really bulky hearing equipment with like a cord and a magnet in the
Yeah.
back, to having it behind the ear. Like I am wearing no cords on my neck. I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
kind of like hide my hearing equipment behind my hair. And I have my phone, just the way that the technology is. I would have had to frame the hearing equipment right to the speaker area, or get it in speaker in the past before
Mm-hmm.
that technology. Or even when I'm having a phone call, I would have to put the phone on speaker, have somebody else here so that I could lip read. But now I am on Bluetooth all the time, and it is such a problem, because I'll be on Instagram, or I'll be on YouTube, or I'll be on Spotify, and then Andy will be like, I've been talking to you for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, sorry. Big problems that I have with the industry, in that a lot of the so called experts and a lot of the content that is created around hearing equipment that we use is created by people that don't necessarily use this equipment. And so what this means is that things that we find really useful, like the way that we connect our Bluetooth devices or our programming channels, we find out about these things from having conversations with other people in the community, or from our own research, trying to solve our own problems with our hearing challenges. And so, but you had talked about how I like, for so many advocates, you have to pick between making your disability your whole identity, or understanding that you are a person who just happens to have a disability. And I think for me, that is something that I have been really trying to figure out with my content. Like, do I want to just make content about my disability? Because there's so many other things. When I started talking about my hearing journey, I wanted to do so out of a desire to find others like me. I've seen another one of your videos where you talked about not really engaging with the community of people with disabilities until later in your life. And I think that that's something that also happened with me because for a really long time I didn't find other people who look like me, who talk like me, who
Mm-hmm.
like in my 20s, I was going to the club. I was, going through a string of relationships. I was living my 20s like in my style. And I didn't see anyone else who was also doing that, who had a cochlear implant, who was dating.
Hello, welcome to my podcast, To My Fun Joe Sooch. I am Joe Sooch. I'll be giving my to Mariella. Mariella was born to hear normally that her family immigrated to New York City. Mariella contracted bacterial meningitis where she lost hearing in both ears. She's completely deaf on the left side. Fast forward 20 years later, she received cochlear implants and now she can hear the cries of her newborn baby. Before we begin the actual conversation, I'll just do an audio description about myself. So I'm a 30-year-old male. I'm wearing blue glasses. My skin color is white, and I'm wearing a backwards black hat and tan, I think, shirt. And I'm wearing nail polish for a video that I have to do later. So Mariella, you can go.
Hi, Joe. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Mariela Paulino. I am a Hispanic woman. I have shoulder length black hair. I am wearing a black shirt that says "The future is accessible" with my handle, Project Hearing. And I am currently in my home office where you will see some pictures or artwork in the background.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start off the conversation is what is the most annoying sound on the planet?
The most annoying sound on the planet is the sound of water. And the
Water. Okay.
water, it is the sound of water. And the reason for that is that the cochlear implant still, for all of its technological innovation, has not been created in such a way that you can wear a behind the ear, like a hearing aid processor. If you want to hear water, you have
Mm-hmm.
to wear like this thing that's like on your arm and it has a cord and it goes on your ear and then the microphone's all the way in the back. So if I want to hear water, like if I want to shower or if I want to go in a waterfall, I have to be wearing this really bulky piece of equipment. And if I'm like at the beach, the waves will like pull the cord and it's just very annoying.
Oh.
And so whenever my husband's taking a shower, there's like a whole concert in there. He's got the Alexa going. And I'm just so jealous that I'm not able to have that experience. So water for me is one of the most annoying sounds because I cannot have water and sound together.
Okay. Well, I wear hearing aids myself, and sometimes I forget to take my hearing aids off going into the shower, and I'll turn the shower on and it sounds very loud to me because I'm just not used to the sound. So,
Yeah.
like, don't you like having your showers quiet though? Like, don't you have like your own like therapy 20-minute session since it's just quiet?
100%. I think for me now is a new layer just because I have a baby. So whenever I take a shower, I need to make sure that either it's a very quick shower if I'm home by myself
Mm,
or that somebody else is outside because I have to take my hearing equipment off so I don't hear anything in the shower, which just causes me a lot of anxiety. Like, what if the baby's crying? What if somebody's in the house?
mm,
So it's just one of those things that like just the sound of water just causes me a bit of stress.
Okay, so how about like rain? Like, do you like the sound of rain?
I find the sound of rain absolutely fascinating in a way because it's kind of like, and very often, if I'm at home and it's raining, I'll just hear this continuous like on the window, and I'm like, "What is that sound? What is it?" And my partner Andy, I'll just call him Andy instead of saying my husband or my partner, and Andy will just, "Oh, it's raining," and I'm like, "Ah." But he also tells me like when there's a rainstorm, for example, that is very calming. But these are just really sounds that I don't really hear. So I guess it's kind of like one of those sounds that I'm oblivious to.
So it seems like you are hearing sounds for the first time and your brain can distinguish, I guess, or doesn't even know what sounds are that makes so like for example, rain. You don't know like I can explain what rain sounds like, but like it's not good enough to explain like it can't equal to how you can hear it though. Like you can know I can't explain the sound of you and you can go, oh, I get it. It's more of a you have to hear it for yourself. So I totally understand you not knowing what rain sounds like. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I kind of like describe sound. It's kind of like how do you explain the color red to someone?
Hmm.
And Andy, he is a musician. He is a banker, 9 to 5, but after work, he plays music. And he will just have his bass guitar and he'll play 2 strings and he'll try to figure out if I can tell the difference. And sometimes I can, other times I can't. And he's absolutely fascinated by that because there are so many sounds just in the everyday that I will hear and I'll try to figure out what they are. Like, the sound of a basketball on the floor. Like, I'll just be like, what is that sound? And that happens just throughout the day. The beeping of the microwave, the pot boiling, the water running in the faucet. These are all sounds that I'm constantly trying to figure out where sound is coming from. Or I just went in for a mapping to change my sound. And they changed a few electrodes, and I heard the sound of the air conditioner for the first time. I was like, what is that in the background? That shh. So it's just constant, like constant discovery.
That's so fascinating. Well, I mean, I can relate to an extent of new sound, but I've been hard of hearing for basically my whole life. So, like, what sound you find like really interesting then? Like, what sound like you never thought would sound the way it does?
A sound that sounds the way I never thought it would. Is that the
Hmm?
question?
Yeah, like, I watched a TikTok of a woman and so she's completely deaf, like she never heard sound in her life, and there's no way for her to hear sound. So the video would be that like there would be two women, so one is deaf and one is normal hearing. So she would make the sound, and then the deaf person would have to imagine what the sound it sounds like with her mouth, and it's really funny to see how she thinks it sounds, and it sounds nothing like what it actually sounds like.
That actually reminds me. Have you been in those like the booths, the the sound booth where they check your hearing and then they ask you to repeat the word or the
Yeah,
sentence? Yeah,
yeah, I hate it.
you are not alone. I stand with you in solidarity. I hate the booth, and I think it's kind of like your brain just starts doing things, and you're like, "Am I hearing sound? Am I going crazy?" But like really back to your original question, a sound that I've heard that I did not expect it to sound the way it does. I'll have to say, my son's. It's so weird to say that, but like my son's, like the sounds he makes, and I say that because I am by nature just a generally very anxious person. I'm constantly planning. I'm constantly just like trying to prepare for all possible scenarios. So before he was born, I would go
Mm-hmm.
online and try to train myself on like the sounds of newborns and kind of like to train my hearing. But with him, and I think it's kind of like that motherly thing, but I am just so aware of how he sounds, like his grunts, his cries, his waking up sounds. Like I'm able to kind of differentiate now between him waking up and him being hungry and him being sleepy. And I did not expect to have that level of ease into motherhood, especially because of my hearing. So that has been unexpected and absolutely welcomed.
It's just very fascinating to hear such a unique, I guess, experience because not every day that someone doesn't hear for a long time and all of a sudden does. It's just so fascinating to talk to you, but also to like see videos of other people hearing for the first time where we all kind of take it for granted too.
100%. In my own case, I also had a lot of anxieties and fears around being a mother just because of my hearing disability. Like I just was just filled with fear and anxiety. But now that I'm in
Mm-hmm.
it, it's just like I can do this. I can do this all day. It's not that bad. It's much easier than I expected it to be, and it's not that much harder because of my hearing disability.
Well, I can relate to you in a little bit, but I had giant wore hearing aids since I was born, basically, so I kind of live with noise all the time. But what's weird is that the one time mom accidentally washed my hearing aid in the shower, I mean in the laundry, and so I didn't have a hearing aid for like 2 weeks. Well, I had one ear, but not the other ear, and when I got the hearing aid back, it almost was like it was almost like I was hearing again for the first time because I didn't have it for 2 weeks, and I didn't realize 2 weeks of no sound would equal to like almost hearing your sounds again. And like, tell me if it happened to you, but when you first started wearing, when you first hearing sound, like, did you get a lot of headaches because your brain can't like compute like what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Like, what is all this new sounds? Like, do you get headaches often?
That is a familiar experience for me because I've had a few failures on my cochlear implant, and what that means is that I've had to have the implant inside replaced. And so what has
Oh
happened?
no.
Oh yes, but I think I really like to think of it as a blessing in disguise because I had my first surgery in '97, and then I had my second surgery like 3 weeks before I started college, and then I had a third failure a couple years after that, and that has all been fantastic because the technology that existed in '87 is drastically different from the technology that existed in 2021. For example, like you go from having this really bulky hearing equipment with like a cord and a magnet in the
Yeah.
back to having it behind the ear. Like I am wearing no cords on my neck. I'm able to
Hmm.
kind of like hide my hearing equipment behind my hair. And just the sound quality is so much better. So every time I've had a
Hmm.
failure, I also get a hearing equipment upgrade. And that just a whole new exposure to new sounds. So I think that that has been an absolute blessing. I hope I don't get any more surgeries, but if it happens in like 5 to 10 years, it won't be bad.
Wouldn't you want to have surgery every like, you know, 5 to 10 years just to replace just because technology has improved a lot. So like for me, a big change for me was having Bluetooth headphones, and it's just a game changer for everything. Like I'll pay like $1,000 to that Bluetooth because now I can't imagine my life without it.
I wish that wasn't the case in terms of the technology needing to get a new processor or a new internal piece for you to get the upgrade. And it's one of the things that I really dislike about the current industry, in that there are people still stuck with 1987 processors that are not able to get any of the
Oh
new
my God.
features. Yeah, or people stuck in like technology from 2001 that don't have any of the new features. Like this new internal piece, it allows me to have Bluetooth, which, as you pointed out, is a game changer. Mind you, I like my headphones. It's a preference because it would have been like a whole connecting the computer to the Bluetooth, and my Bluetooth already connected to my phone. It's too much work sometimes. But when I'm on the phone, for example, back in the early 2000s, I had to take the phone and like put it all the way over here so that the microphone could pick up the
Yeah.
the sound. But now I'm able to have a conversation just like this on Bluetooth, where I'm holding the phone in front of me, or not even having to hold the phone at all because the microphone is in the piece. So I think for me, it's just I ideally would like to see these companies invest more in their assistant technology. Like this new processor allows for me to do remote programming, which means if I need to change my hearing channels, I can do it from my home. You can't do that with a
Oh,
1997 piece.
it's amazing.
Exactly. And so I would like to be able to see like all of these people invest in this technology, get the surgery, and then bam, 5 years later, the company comes out with a new range of technologies, but only the new people that get the surgery are able to get access to that. And I don't think that that's fair because you're completely ignoring all of these people over here. But if that's what has to be done every 5 to 10 years, eh, I wouldn't be mad.
Well, I don't know about the surgery, but the surgery intense, like it is something that they don't recommend you doing because like if you keep cutting into the same spot over and over, it can lead to more
Scarring.
bad effects over time. So it is something not recommended to do.
I have to be very honest in that my cochlear implant failures are more an outlier than they are the norm. Most people have the cochlear
Okay.
implant surgery one time and they're good. The failures I've had have been really an anomaly in themselves. Hopefully, this will be my last surgery for a while. Knock on wood. But I'm always very open to the possibility that if I do have a cochlear implant failure, a fourth cochlear implant failure, I will just, let's do it. Let's rip off the band-aid and just get it done. I also decided to implant my left ear just so that I could have kind of that backup. I did that like 2 years ago. The results of that surgery were not very successful just because I had waited so long to have the surgery that my cochlea ossified, which means it turned into bone. And so they weren't able
Oh
to,
no.
yeah, so they weren't able to put the cochlear implant in all the way. So I do have some hearing, but it's just not as effective as my right side.
Well, let's go back a little bit because I know your family had always wanted you to wear cochlear implant, and you didn't specifically say why you weren't able to get it, but was one of the reasons was that it would just cost so much money? And you mentioned that like you had like this sweet spot with insurance that they were gonna pay for it, so like you were like, hell yeah, let's just do it because they're gonna pay for it. So what money always the issue?
The reason why I only got implanted in one ear as opposed to two, there are a few reasons, but the main reason is that my family wanted me to have the choice to implant the other ear at a later time. And so we figured we would just see how I would perform with having just one cochlear implant. And then, if in the future I chose to implant my second ear, I would proceed with that. I think we were also holding on to the hope that there would be new things like you see like stem cell research or
Mm-hmm.
something else. And so I was even waiting out for that to see if that would
Mm-hmm.
materialize. But I think mostly my family wanted to give me the choice to implant that second ear.
So it's safe to say that both of your ears have cochlear implants right now, right?
That is correct. But I only wear the one on my right ear because the one on the left ear, the one I chose to implant later in life, is not as effective.
So does that make it a little harder for you? Because I know hearing sound to the ear sounds different than wearing hearing aids. It almost has maybe like a digital sound to it. So does that mess your brain up a little bit since you're hearing kind of two different sounds, but like same sounds, if that makes sense?
It does. So on my right ear, my first surgery, or I call it my default ear, I'm able to hear a range of sounds. I can hear my voice from your voice, from like the 3D printer that was printing in your background. I'm able to create a difference in sound, difference in frequencies. On my left ear, the ear that I recently had surgery on, it is very, it sounds very, robotic. It sounds like this. And then there's not even that clarity of sound. So it's a lot of like white
Uh,
noise in the background, which I find very
oh,
distracting. So you add clarity of sound to my video, and then you add all this in the back, and it's very distracting. So I just don't use it.
yeah, that's interesting. I always question like how do people sound because everyone sounds, like you sound differently. It kind of like when you wear headphones, like every headphones had like a different sound profile. So I like never truly know what someone sounds like.
I think for me, it's like headphones just kind of like filter sound. Like a headphone will just kind of like create a cocoon of sound versus having the
Mm-hmm.
Bluetooth directly transmitted. That is like the clearest sound, but it also has a lot more fiddling with the computer versus hearing you through my computer. It's I have to wait for the sound to travel, and then I also have to deal with the ambient sound interfering with my ability to hear your voice.
Well, I don't know if you know, but in the Bluetooth setting, you have to talk to your audiologist. They can actually change the way your Bluetooth sound. So like you can add more bass to it if you want to and such.
Okay, I
Did
did
you know
not
that?
know this. I did not know this.
I didn't know it either, but she did was like, oh, I can change your bass levels. And I was like, really? Like how like I wish I had like a brochure or something to know like what my options are. I'm like, yeah, let's make the bass higher because bass sounds better. So I was like, let's do it. Like change things up a little bit.
There's it's actually really interesting to see that because the way that they program the cochlear implant is that they'll give you like I want to say like 30 individual like beats, if you will. Like you will spend an hour just going through beeps, like beep beep beep
Yeah,
boom boom. Is that what
I
happened?
hate it so much.
It's like I'm not hearing beeps or boops. I'm hearing sound. Like put speech in there, and then let's switch it up so that I can
Wait,
actually.
do you hear sound like you think you hear it, but like you don't hear it? But then you're like second guessing yourself a little bit. It's like you don't know if you hear it. And you don't know if it's kind of like you're expecting a sound. Does that make
Like you
sense?
don't know what that beeping sound is for. Like
Yeah.
is that like for like a register? Is that like for the sound of water? Is that for like a bass in voice? So I would really like for there to be a way for you to kind of like have different programs with the beep beep beep, but like in different levels, so you can actually decide what works for you. Or even when you go to the eye doctor, you know how they give you A B, and then you are able to kind of
Yeah,
go B B
it's
C.
horrible.
Yeah, like, but there should be something like when you do your eye appointment for your ear appointment. So you actually are able to, in real time, see what these options sound like. So you're not just doing beeps and boops.
Wait, hold on. So on my phone, I can change the setting so there's like a setting where I have where it's like if you're outdoors, there's a setting if you're like listening to music, there's a setting if you're in like a crowded place. Like, do you not have those settings for yourself?
I do have those. There's an app on Advanced Bionics for that. And I do use it. I don't use it as much. I have my default sound, which I
Hmm.
really like. But then when I'm going to like a concert or I don't know, a club, which I don't do anymore, but I would like do that. But then I also, when I go like on a date for like a restaurant and the restaurant's really busy, one of the things that I have is an FM unit. Are you familiar with FM units?
It's a microphone that you give it to them and they talk into it.
Yes. So I have my own FM unit, and then I just put it in the middle
Yeah,
of the table. And
I have one here. That's what I'm talking to right now, actually. I don't know.
I thought that was a, well, basically an FM unit is basically an external microphone, if you will. So I
Yeah,
have my FM unit,
did
and then I'll just put it
yeah, this
in the
is
table.
yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but this is I don't think it's called an FM tuner. I think it uses Bluetooth. So like I have it connected to my computer right now, and you can connect it to like your TV and such. Is it basically a Bluetooth connection? So like, you can connect it to any Bluetooth device, and you can listen to it. And it's also a microphone, so you can connect it to your phone too when it talks to this too. But on iPhone, it had like a special Bluetooth connection, so I actually don't need this. So I use this from a laptop, so it's actually perfect for me because I don't have to wear headphones ever again. I just use this all day to like edit and such, so and listen to music without anybody hearing me. And I'll have to wear headphones. Like like headphones hurts your ears after a long time when you wear hearing aids, so it's super convenient to have. It's expensive though,
Love
which is
it. I
kind of
also
bullshit.
discovered on my phone, I have a Pixel, there is an app called Sound Amplifier that has your phone act like an FM unit, which is absolutely
Okay.
fascinating because that way I don't have to carry additional pieces of equipment. I can just have my phone, put it in the table, and have that be my amplifier that connects directly to
Okay.
my implant.
Wait, what company is your hearing aids?
Advanced Bionics.
Because I have Oticon, so I wonder if they have a similar option to help you.
I
Because do you connect your hearing aid to your laptop or your computer?
I think Advanced Bionics is owned by Audicon. I think Audicon is kind of like the umbrella company, and Advanced Bionics is under them.
Oh, do you ever want to connect your hearing aid to your computer so you don't have to wear headphones?
I do. The only problem is I have to first disconnect it from my phone, and then I have to connect it to my computer, and then it takes like a few minutes to do that. It's just like too much fiddling. So instead, I just have
Uh,
my phone connected to my hearing equipment, and then I have the headphones connected to the computer. That way, I don't have to. I feel it works for me. I don't have to deal with as much monitoring of what
huh.
Bluetooth is connected to what. It's like headphones, computer, phone, hearing equipment.
Oh, oh, because what's cool about mine when I do my devices, it's actually connected to the computer and my phone. This piece here
At the
is not
same time,
connected to it. Both. This device is only connected to my computer, but I have a So an iPhone has a special hearing aid chip, I guess you would call it, or some special low power, I don't know, some chip inside. So it connects to your hearing aids not through Bluetooth, but something else. And so what allows me to do is I have this connected to my laptop. So when someone calls me on my phone, it actually automatically connects to my phone. And then when I go back on my computer, I just wait like 5 seconds and it connects back to my computer without even, like changing anything.
The only reason why I have my devices connected in the way I do is because the other day I forgot to disconnect my Bluetooth device from my computer. So I had my hearing
Mm,
equipment still connected to my computer. So I kept hearing this sound in that was coming into my hearing equipment while I was in like outside of this space. And so I was like, oh my
oh
God, am I
no.
having a cochlear implant failure? Am I going to need another surgery right now? Because this is usually how it starts. Like I'll start hearing like this weird sounds and I'm like, panicking. I I didn't really think to make the connection to figure out what my hearing equipment was connected to, and it took me like a whole day of that happening until I just thought
Oh
to
no.
check to see if my computer is still connected to my hearing equipment, and lo and behold, it was.
Oh no.
So yeah, that was, and when that happened, I was just like, I really want to keep my hearing with the phone, computer with the Bluetooth headphones. Game changer for me.
Huh. No, I mean I totally get it, but if you ever want to maybe just use your hearing aids full time, like I can try to work out. Like I'm a huge tech person, so I can definitely try to help you out so you don't have to use headphones because headphones, now that I don't wear headphones anymore, I can never go back to headphones again because it's so convenient. Like your hearing aids are kind of like the most comfortable headphones you could ever wear because like custom made to you. So like and it also saves me money too because I don't have to buy headphones anymore. I just have my hearing aids and I'm good to go.
I love it. And it's crazy to think that there's still so many people that don't have access to the Bluetooth technology yet. Simply because it would be a significant like cost to be able to switch over
Hmm.
to that technology that has that Bluetooth functionality.
Yeah.
It's it's an amazing piece of technology to have.
Well, I knew Bluetooth existed for a while before I got the Bluetooth headphones. And like you would say, like, oh, you can listen to your music through your hearing aids. It's so convenient. But like when I heard that, I was like, I have headphones. Like, why should I even try? Like, I don't care that much about it. But like now that I have the headphones, I have the hearing aid Bluetooth. I can't go back ever again. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, it's really. I think Bluetooth is a huge game changer for all people. Like I do understand like hearing aid technology improved a lot, but I think Bluetooth is such a huge step forward. I feel like you should really save up money just to get Bluetooth headphones. Even if sound, even if your environment sounds the same, the Bluetooth headphones help you tremendously. That like I think everyone should do it.
I 100% agree. I feel that way again when I have my phone, just the way that the technology is. I would have had to frame the hearing equipment right to the speaker area or get it in speaker in the past before
Hmm.
that technology, or even when I'm having a phone call. I would have to put the phone on speaker, have somebody else here so that I could lip read. But now I am on Bluetooth all the time, and it is such a problem because I'll be on Instagram or I'll be on YouTube or I'll be on Spotify, and then Andy will be like, I've been talking to you for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, sorry. And so it's really wonderful to not have to use this, like just another
Hmm.
piece of equipment, but it's what works for me. But I absolutely relate to you.
Yeah. The only annoying thing though now is that sometimes you become so submerged in your own world that you forget like everything that's happening around you. And then just like, and then you like step out of it and like, oh whoa, like 20 minutes have passed and you're in your own world and no, and then the other annoying thing that nobody knows you're listening to stuff. So like sometimes, like my parents will walk into my room talking to me, I'm listening to stuff, and then like they have to like get my attention so I can like hear again. And I always have to say like, hold on one second, please, I can turn off the music so I can listen to them. So that's kind of occurrence, but like Bluetooth all the way. I can't never go back.
I love it. I love it. And I think we can now be advocates for Bluetooth technology. Maybe we can reach out to Advanced Bionics or Audica and be like, hey, we can do a feature for like talking about Bluetooth technology with you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a big problem is kind of the education of it. They don't really like tell you anything. They just go, oh, Bluetooth, but like, I can listen to it your phone. But like, I think if they have like a little explanation about it, I think will help much more. Because like, I feel like there's something that I never knew existed. I don't know, FM tuner or whatever you call it. I didn't know this existed when she sold me the hearing aid. I just kind of found it randomly on the internet. And I looked into it like, oh, okay, like this is something I could definitely use often because, like, oh, you want to connect to my laptop, it'll be so convenient. But like, I guess I would have to ask, but I just don't know if it's something I would need to ask. I thought I would just know, but I just didn't know, and I just imagine other people that are in my situation, they probably don't know that this product even exists because they're just never told, and they're just like, oh, I just have to wear headphones, forever. But like, you don't have to. Like, there's an option, but people just don't know, unfortunately.
That's actually one of the big problems that I have with the industry, in that a lot of the so called experts and a lot of the content that is created around hearing equipment that we use is created by people that don't necessarily use this equipment. And so, what this means is that things that we find really useful, like the way that we connect our Bluetooth devices or our programming channels, we find out about these things from having conversations with other people in the community or from our own research, trying to solve our own problems with our hearing challenges. And so I think it's really critical for like companies that do hearing equipment, companies like Audica and Advanced Bionics, to actually hire more people who use the equipment to be the ones to create the content, since they're the ones that know what is actually useful, so that they know Bluetooth technology is what they need to be talking about, or the hearing equipment that's not all clunky that you use on your arm when you go into the water. And so a lot of the people in these teams for product and design and marketing at these companies that focus on disability tools, they're not including people with disabilities or actual users of this technology in creating these things.
Well, I think hearing disability advocates are very few, that there's just no one to really do, and it's also very hard, I guess, advocate for because I feel like there's not that much to really do, and I think also if people are just not interested in it either.
Repeat that one more time, Joe.
Yeah, I think people are just not interested in a hearing advocate. They're just, yeah, I
What do
just
you
think people
mean?
are just not interested enough. Hmm? What did you say?
I said, what do you mean that they're not interested?
Oh, well, like when you create content, you want people to like and engage with your content, and I just don't think it as, um, I don't know, people are just not as interested in it versus, let's say tube feedings, for example. I think it's just much, I don't know, there's just something about hearing it not attractive to people, like new audiences, I guess. And also it's hard to, I think it's also hard to find other hearing aid advocates because I think most don't advertise themselves, does that make sense? Like you don't, I've been following you for a long time, and I actually didn't know you wore hearing aids and you had a cochlear implant because not something you're like showing off, you're just a normal person, like, hey, here guys, here's my hearing aid, like blah 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 blah. You're just like being a normal person, like yeah, you create like videos with, like closed captioning, but it's something they just don't advertise it as much to themselves. I see a lot of like deaf people like that do like sign language and such, but they don't really advertise hearing aids. I don't know. It's just not a.
That's
It
really
could just be me that I'm just not fine. Yeah.
that's really interesting because I also just saw another video you had made with another advocate, or I think this was one of your solo videos, but you had talked about how I like for so many advocates, you had to pick between making your disability your whole identity or understanding that you are a person who just happens to have a
Mm.
disability. And I think for me, that is something that I have been really trying to figure out with my content. Like, do I want to just make content about my disability? Because I'm so many other things. I'm Dominican. I'm from New York City. I like, there's just like an entire persona that just happens to have a
Mm-hmm.
hearing disability. And that is one aspect, but not the whole person's. And I think it's really interesting that you didn't notice it. And maybe it's because I haven't really been talking about it as much as I used to. And I think a part of that also has to do with over the last few years, I just noticed that there is just so much negativity that exists online. Like you make a video about something and then you'll just get like all this kind of like negativity when you're just trying to create content about your experience. I think for me in particular, I really stopped talking about my healing journey because there were some people in the community that would just you would start talking about cochlear implants and then it would be like "Wah! Wah! Wah!" And I was just like, I don't need that. I don't need that energy in my life. So I just kind of like stopped creating that content and engaging with people more one on one in this capacity, just having a conversation because I think it's so easy for people to show the worst parts of themselves behind a screen. That just absolutely discouraged me from creating content about my disability.
I mean, for me, I think it's important to be authentic to yourself, but also have I guess, a structure of who you are as a person because I do know that like there are some people that do only disability stuff and there are people that do like just living a normal life too and stuff. But I think it's good to have your own established way of how you present yourself so people know what to expect from you. So if you post like five disability and then one, I don't know, your family, it's fine. But like if that's your formula, then five disability post, one family post, or it could be every other post, family, disability, family, like whatever formula you stick to, that's fine. But if you're going 20 disability and then one family, it looks a little wrong. But you have to establish your formula first, and then people will respond to that. So they're used to who you are as a person. So like, I think some disability people get too focused on disability. Like I do kind of get it from a business standpoint that disability stuff do get more engagement and likes and if you're wanting to have your social media as a business, that's what you want. You want likes and comments and people interact with you and follow you. That's just a norm. Like I get that, but then you're also kind of going away from who you are, the person. Like you're catering more to the audience and who you are to yourself. And for me, I try to not hide that. Like, yeah, there'll be some videos that I would really never do, but I also try to inject my humor into it and make it me. So like yes, we can talk about the same topic, but you can definitely tell I added my spin to it instead of like, oh, this is my cochlear implant, blah blah blah. Like I'll answer jokes, I'll answer like sex jokes or inappropriate jokes because that's who I am as a person, and people that follow me expect that kind. Cause they just like the way I present myself to the world, so I try to be that. Not at the same time, I do know there are people that do not like me and do not like the way I present things, and that's totally fair to them too. Like I totally understand where they're coming from too, but I also want to be happy with how I present myself to the world and what makes me happy too. And like if you don't like me, that's totally fine. Like I'm not gonna cater to everyone. I just do know that my content is for the most part factual. I'm sure I got one or two things wrong, but that's just a normal human side of me. But I don't take it as seriously as some do. I'm sure, like I do know you worked with some disabled people, and you kind of expect you have like a high bar of perfection, and you want to keep it PG and such. And I do totally respect it, but it's just not. I don't want to be locked down. I want to present myself the way I want to because I always been locked down my whole life growing up, so I just want to be myself and have people follow me for who I am as a person, not a fake version of me. Because if I change halfway through, then the audience would be like, "Hey, this is not the person I liked before. Like, what's happening here?" And then I lose followers, and they might not like the change I'm going with. But if I'm myself from the beginning, I'm just gonna develop a audience that will like me for me. You know, I could deep inside, I feel like I could change my character to be more liked by more people, and I'll probably get way more followings, but I generally wouldn't be happy with myself, and it'd be exhausting for me, so I'd rather do myself, like make myself happy, and and so be it.
And that's powerful. And I respect it. I think for me, when I started talking about my healing journey, I wanted to do so out of a desire to find others like me. I've seen another one of your videos where you talked about not really engaging with the community of people with disabilities until later in your life. And I think that that's something that also happened with me because for a really long time I didn't find other people who look like me, who talk like me, who
Hmm.
like in my 20s, I was going to the club. I was, going through a string of relationships. I was living my 20s like in my style. And I didn't see anyone else who was also doing that, who had a cochlear implant, who was dating. Like I just didn't see who would like listen to like Daddy Yankee or like going to like a reggaeton club or like I just didn't see anybody that was doing these things. And I created my account Project Hearing out of a desire to find other people like me. I wanted to find other Latinas. I wanted to find other people who were in the workforce. I wanted to find other people who were living life similar to mine. And I found other people by doing that, by creating that type of content. But I think that there's also a lot of people in the community that see that as, I don't even know how to put it into words, but there are other people in the community that are very rigid in how they believe the community should be, or how we interact, or what we like, or how we communicate. And that aspect of the community, especially that, like when you make one mistake on social media, like say you forgot to add audio description, or maybe you put a video that's not captioned. It's just there's just this extreme sense of judgment that happens on social media and on the internet that for me personally, I've just kind of like stepped out of that because it's like I want to live my life and I don't want to have to give someone an explanation for how I live my life. And so I appreciate and I admire the way you do content, but for me, it's just like I want to just step out of here and like do things on my own way. But I do feel very much called, especially recently, to create a lot more content, to be more authentic in the content that I'm creating and more authentic in the story that I'm telling, because I'm telling you that video you made the other day, I was just like, damn, this powerful, this real. And I think we need to have a lot more content without it being so cookie cutter, like perfect.
I mean, I totally where you're coming from. So I know why you are the way you are because when you see, so like when you first started your journey, you see what people like on Instagram. So you want to replicate that. So like you're gonna want to kind of have similar content. So like if they can make it, I can make it too, and that's great and all. But is this something that you like though? Like, are you doing it for yourself? But like when I started my journey, I kind of was being myself, and I also saw like the post that you see, and I was like, I don't like it. I feel like there needs to be someone that disrupts the disability community. So that's where I come into play. And like the other thing that helps is that I don't really care what people think of me. Like if I make a mistake, like I'll write in comments like I'll own it, I'll own the mistake, or I don't disagree or something like that. But like I'm already thinking 4 videos ahead anyway. So like the more videos you make, the more things people will find fault in you. It's kind of like when you're dating a person, they're great on the first date, but how are they on the fifth date? Obviously, you're gonna find something wrong with them, and we're all human. We have things that we like, and we have things that we don't like. But like to me, I'm just gonna keep going with my character because not, it's just that's me. They're gonna be like you can watch one video and hate my guts, but like I'm also expressing things that a normal person doesn't normally express either. And like especially in the disability community, you want to be liked by everyone basically. So you don't want to ruffle some feathers, but like I think there's an echo chamber of it. Like I'm the disruptor of that chamber, and I think it's just to be a realistic part of it, and it bothers me a lot. But also to tackle your point with like you would say you were trying to find like people that are chronic or that have hard of hearing or Latina or something. To me, I feel like the best advocates out there are the ones that are not advocating at all. They're just going, living their normal lives, just like you. You marry someone, you have kids, you're working. Yes, you do have some advocacy videos, but like you're not really doing much. But I feel like you're a better advocate because you are living your life basically normally. Like you found a husband that's really hard to find any person in this day and age of the dating. It's horrible. Like you're living a good life with that. Like you save money to get the surgery. You feel, I think you said 3 times now. Like you went and you did it. Like you didn't. Like you don't have to. Just because you don't put it on Instagram doesn't mean you're a bad advocate. I think you're a way better advocate than someone who posts all the time because it's not when you post on Instagram, you want a reaction to it. You're not gonna post like, "Oh, I had a great day today" and such. No, you're gonna post all this shitty thing that happened to you, like, oh, like the sidewalk was, you know, um, it was blocked off, and like a bird shitted on my head, and all that. That gives a reaction, but like that's not real life. But also when I talk about the disability community, I try to think of a disability community as a whole. So I feel like me and you, I feel like we're privileged that we have good insurance and we can get and a good family, and like it helps us tremendously recovering. But a lot of people aren't like that. They don't have a good family. They don't have income. They start to think of it that I think some people get lost in it too. They don't think of a whole community like, oh, I had decent, so everyone has it. Like I don't think that's the case at all. I think I made a video way back saying we only see the 1% of disabled people, so we usually see the better ones, but there are a lot of people that are struggling. So like, I met cochlear implant people that can't talk well at all, and they have a huge speech impediment, no matter how hard they try, or maybe they're not trying at all. I don't know, but they could grow, and there's so many factors that comes into it too. So I try to speak on more of the people that don't have voices too.
And I really want to highlight here that the way I see disability and disability advocacy, particularly, is that there are many different ways that you can be an advocate. For some of us, is
Hmm.
going online and calling out injustices, and for others, it's being in these spaces where we are making a difference in our own way by either starting our disability employee resource group at the companies we work for or just simply living our lives. Like, being a disability advocate is not just about going on social media and being the loudest or the angriest voice in the room. That's not the only way that you can do advocacy. Sometimes doing advocacy is just simple. It's as simple as having a conversation with someone that's never heard about cochlear implants before and educating them on what a cochlear implant is. And that can be just as impactful. And I feel like as a society, we've really there's just this major shift that's happened where we think that just being the loudest or the angriest voice in the room is the only way that we can do advocacy, and it's not. And for that reason, I really feel like my brand of advocacy is different from other people's brands of advocacy, and that's okay because it's by all of us working in our own different capacities that we're going to be able to actually make any real change in society, any real change in the disability conversation by just like living our lives. By like when I was in the hospital giving birth to my son, I had a sign at the door that says, I have a the patient has a hearing disability. Please remove your mask so she can read your lips. And I had a conversation with every single nurse about hearing disability and advocacy. And most of them had never had a patient that had a hearing disability. So I educated them on the
Hmm.
importance of the reading or writing things down or having an interpreter on call. And it's just like there's many different brands of advocacy that can happen. And it's really important for all of
Hmm.
us to just really do our part and recognize that because somebody's not doing things in the way that we're doing things, it doesn't mean that whatever they're doing is wrong.
I mean, I would add to your statement that advocacy, like I know it's a little controversial opinion, but advocacy on the social media, I think is pointless because you are talking to people that already know about you, so it doesn't really matter. So like a best advocate is when you were in the hospital and you said you had to explain to people and that you're hard of hearing and to remove your mask. That's the only way to do it because those people are not gonna watch a video about a disabled person because it doesn't really like I guess interest them. Is it not it's not something they will seek out unless they need a reason to watch they need a reason to change if that makes sense. So like if they never met you, they would have never thought to remove the mask so people can read their lips. But like now they met you, they can go, oh, so now the next person that's deaf, I don't know if it says it on your chart or something, but they can say like, oh, the person deaf, like out of courtesy, let's remove our mask to help you. That's the only true way to really help make change in the world. Posting on social media is not going to make a difference. Like I'll give an example. So there was a game and my reading is completely fine and like I don't have any color blindness or anything like that. But I just had a hard time playing the game because the colors were so similar. So I just emailed them like, hey, can you like change the colors a little bit so it can be more like distinctive? And they like emailed me back and made changes and everything was great. But like there'll be people that just post on social media like this game sucks and they are not thinking about accessibility, and I'm like, most people don't talk to a disabled person. They need to be like told like, hey, can you make this change? And it's another thing if they do make the change, but like at least you're confronting them about it. If you're just complaining on social media, it's not going to do anything. Your audience are already disabled people, so they already know. But like, do you want to talk to people that are not disabled? Because that's where the change really matters, and you have to confront them, not just complain about it. That's how I learned through my years of advocacy.
I, I'll add to that ad by saying there's one of the most powerful quotes I've heard in my career is that progress moves at the speed of trust. And that is such a powerful thing because it is only when you're able to see someone and see someone's humanity and recognize them as your friend, as your colleague, as your neighbor, that you actively start thinking about being an ally. When you, and there's studies have shown that when you force people to be allies, when they have no interest in being allies or in joining disability initiatives at work, these initiatives are less successful than if you have people volunteer to do accessibility on their own. And so that quote, progress moves at the speed of trust, when you're actually able to have a conversation with someone without attacking them, without telling them, you're doing this wrong. They are more likely to continue to do
Hmm.
accessibility correctly because it's the right thing to do, because they recognize your humanity as a person without being attacked. So, yeah.
Yeah, they just need to be confronted. Like they're not, you just tell a person watch this video, like not gonna do it. They need I guess, a personal aspect to it. That makes sense. That's like the only way that I saw change happen to anyone. Like you just got to be self-aware that most people don't know how to talk to deaf or disabled or anything. Like people have their own different experiences. Like you just gotta like I think some disabled people would just think that everyone just are shitty people, but they just don't know, and you can't fault them for being bad to you. Like you gotta, I know it's exhausting and such, but like you gotta like sometimes teach them how to talk to you. But it's also weird because every disabled has a different way of, like talking and interactions and way to help. Like some people like to be helped a lot, if they're in a wheelchair, and some do not either. But I think it comes down to the individual person to advocate how to be helped the most, because I think most people have good intentions. That sometimes they just don't know what to do, so they just have to be told what to do, and hopefully they'll absorb it and pass it along to the next person. Because that's yeah.
Yeah, and I think is really, as you pointed out, it can be really exhausting, to just constantly having to educate someone every single day on something that you have to deal with, and it can be absolutely exhausting to do all of that, and it's definitely something that can be like a disability tax, if you will. But the way I think about these things, especially with my own disability, is if I don't take the time to educate this person, who's going to do it? Like, very often, especially in professional spaces, I'm the first person that they meet with a disability, or I'm the first person creating a program and bringing up accessibility. So, how can I create the most universal way that we can create accessibility in everything we do? I actually had a job a few years ago, and we were doing a movie screening. They were just like, oh, let's just show the movie. And it's like, hold up. We also need to think about an audio description version of the movie. We need to think about if we're going to have a conversation with people, Is there going to be automatic captioning? Is there going to be a chat functionality? If we're going to do the movie screening in person, is there going to be accessible bathrooms? Are there elevators? So it's kind of like once you get in through the door, are you taking measures to open a window? Are you taking measures to open up the back door? Are you making an effort to make sure that the door is wide enough for different types of people to come in? And I think that for me, being very aware of the privilege of the space and the disability I have, having access to these spaces allows me to also think about how do I make this easier for the next person that's going to come after me, because somebody definitely made it easier for me to be able to do this. How do I pay it forward for the next person that's coming after me? And Joe, I want to be mindful of time.
So before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote any words of wisdom, the winning lottery numbers? The mic is all yours.
The final words of wisdom that I always say is do what you can where you are with what you have. And I say that because if you are a hiring manager, make sure that you are including accessibility in your hiring process. If you are creating an event, if you're doing a podcast, make sure that you are including accessibility in that. Always do what you can where you are with what you have. Don't think about what you'll do next year. Just focus on what's happening today. And I also encourage people to follow me on Private Hearing. There's not a lot of content pretty recently, but I'm hoping to start that back up again, especially in this new identity with motherhood, and maybe add a little bit more of authenticity as we've talked about into what's going on in my life with my hearing disability. So I'm hoping to really pick up a lot more of that content in the next few weeks, months, year. It'll be new content, I promise. But just make sure that you follow me at Private Hearing.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Mariella, so much for giving me your time and expertise. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. If you want to follow Mariella, just the link would be in the description below. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.